You finally rented the heavy steel trap from the hardware store, baited it carefully with a handful of pungent cat food, and successfully caught the heavy intruder overnight. You loaded the rattling cage into your trunk, drove it 10 miles out into the quiet woods, and released it. You dusted off your hands and drove home, completely confident that the problem was permanently solved. It was not. Stop. Trapping and relocating a raccoon is actually illegal in most United States jurisdictions without a specific permit. Most states legally classify raccoons as protected fur bearers and require a specialized wildlife control license to trap and transport them. In many regions, simply transporting a live, trapped animal across county lines constitutes a separate legal offense. Beyond the legal risks, removing an individual raccoon from its established, familiar territory triggers a highly predictable ecological response known as the vacuum effect. The sudden absence of the resident animal acts as a blaring biological signal to all neighboring raccoons that a prime territory is now completely open and undefended. Within a matter of days or weeks, new raccoons will inevitably move in to eagerly claim the vacant space. You absolutely did not remove the problem from your yard. You simply rescheduled it, and, in many cases, you have actively amplified the chaos. You're risking heavy fines to commit an act that mathematically guarantees future conflict. Trapping offers a dangerous illusion of control while entirely ignoring the biological realities of your neighborhood. The animal you are dealing with is Procyon loader, easily recognized by its distinctive black facial mask and bushy, heavily ringed tail. A healthy adult typically weighs anywhere from 12 to 35 pounds. They possess incredibly dexterous, sensitive front paws that function much like human hands, allowing them to easily manipulate and open complex latches, unscrew jars, and pry up heavy hinged lids. They boast an excellent, highly mapped spatial memory for reliable food locations, returning exactly to the spots where they have found success before. As supreme omnivores, they will consume almost anything they can find. They remain active year-round across most of the United States, although their frantic foraging activity noticeably decreases during the bitter winter months in northern states. Their intelligence and physical adaptability make them one of the most successful urban survivors in the modern world. They do not just survive in our neighborhoods. They actively study our habits to exploit our resources. The territorial vacuum effect is the absolute core of why trapping fails as a long-term solution. Stanley Gert at Ohio State University has conducted long-term urban raccoon population studies in the Chicago area, meticulously tracking exactly how these animals divide our neighborhoods. His research documents that raccoon populations in suburban environments are remarkably self-regulating. When local resources are stable, dominant individuals establish strict territories and actively exclude any new competitors from entering. The vacancy mechanism happens step by step. First, a resident raccoon marks and aggressively patrols its established territory, leaving clear scent signals on trees, fences, and structures. When you trap and remove that resident, you create a scent boundary without the animal there to enforce it. Within days, neighboring raccoons detect the total absence of fresh marking. They cautiously cross the line to test the boundary. Finding no resistance, they immediately establish residency. Garrett's Chicago data clearly shows that when resident raccoons are removed from established urban territories, the territory is reoccupied within days to weeks. In high-density urban environments, a single vacant territory may attract multiple individuals simultaneously before a new hierarchy finally forms. Instead of one predictable raccoon visiting your yard, You now have 3 erratic ones violently fighting over the same trash can. Beyond the neighborhood chaos, the trapped animal released far away faces an incredibly grim reality. Translocation studies across multiple North American mesopredator species document mortality rates well above 50% within 30 days for animals released in unfamiliar terrain. When you drop that raccoon into the distant woods, it has no established food routes, absolutely no knowledge of local predator locations, and it immediately faces brutal competition with the established residents already living there. It wanders aimlessly, frantically searching for the urban food sources it knows, and often ends up starving or being struck by vehicles on unfamiliar roads. The relocation performed as a humane act has a heavily documented, severe mortality rate. Removing the raccoon is the exact equivalent of clearing your entire house of furniture to stop a neighbor from visiting. The neighbor was not coming for the furniture. They were coming because the house was there, providing the exact shelter and resources they wanted. The trapping and relocation industry profits from the illusion of a clean removal while ignoring the ecological chaos left in the wake. The hard biological truth is that a stable, resident raccoon is the best possible defense against an influx of new, unpredictable raccoons. By removing the guard, you open the gates to the rest of the local population. Raccoons return to the exact same property repeatedly for one simple reason. A highly valuable resource exists and is easily accessible. This usually means unsecured plastic trash cans, bowls of pet food left outside on the porch, an unmanaged compost pile, a yard littered with fallen fruit, or a permanent, accessible water source. Their presence on your property on any specific night is almost entirely food-driven. If you see the exact same raccoon repeatedly at the exact same time, it means the animal has established a highly efficient foraging circuit that specifically includes your yard. It is there because something on your property is reliably, effortlessly available at that exact hour. They do not waste energy patrolling barren concrete. They follow the calories. Therefore, the raccoon is not the root problem. The raccoon is merely the symptom of the free buffet you are unknowingly operating in your backyard. This behavioral pattern is highly predictable once you understand that urban wildlife optimizes for maximum caloric intake with minimal physical effort. If your property offers high-value food without any defensive barriers, it becomes a permanent anchor point on their nightly map. The animal is simply responding to the environmental incentives you have left outside. When you find your trash scattered across the lawn, you're not the victim of a malicious attack. You're simply looking at the biological receipt for leaving a highly attractive food source unprotected in a thriving ecosystem. To permanently solve the issue, you must completely remove the resource, not the animal. Switch immediately to heavy-duty trash cans with locking lids. A raccoon physically cannot open a latch that requires opposing pressure from 2 hands simultaneously. Bring all pet food inside the house before dusk, without exception. Actively harvest your fruit trees or install protective fencing to keep dropped fruit off the ground. Install motion-activated lights at ground level near the attractants. Raccoons are not inherently terrified of lights, but the sudden, unpredictable activation disrupts their comfort and significantly reduces their willingness to make repeated visits. If a raccoon has managed to access your attic or crawl space, you must call a licensed, highly specialized wildlife control operator. That scenario requires a permanent structural exclusion job, finding and sealing the entry point with steel mesh, not a temporary trap job. Control the environment, secure the food, and the raccoons will naturally map their circuits away from your home. Investing in proper exclusion materials, like heavy-gauge hardware cloth and specialized animal-proof latches, costs significantly less than repairing torn roof shingles or replacing contaminated attic insulation. Do not waste your money on chemical repellents, predator urine sprays, or ultrasonic noise devices, as these commercial products consistently fail in real-world applications. The animals quickly realize these deterrents pose no physical threat and simply ignore them. Focus entirely on mechanical exclusion and strict sanitation. You cannot fight the biological mechanics of a suburban ecosystem with a wire cage, but you can easily outsmart them with a locking lid. Tell me in the comments what the raccoon was actually eating when you found it, and whether it came back after you tried to deal with it.